Welcome back to Space Cadets Away Missions. This is Mission 2. We're playing Escape from the Slave Saucer, and so far we haven't found any weapons. And we've got a couple of thralls on the board. We have a Space Leech and a Saucerman. Okay, this time I've decided that Annie Fletcher, our first officer, is going first. So I'm not going to keep going back to their boards. We'll just stay here. So she's got the first scan action, and it means she has to reveal the closest tile to her, so which will be one of these four. And I think we're going to have her do this one right here, because it has a Rocketeer item on it. So we're going to take the tokens off. We are going to reveal the tile. Orient it with the arrows facing north like all the other ones, and let's find out what this is. Please be a laser gun. It's a ray gun. Excellent. All right, she's going to get a weapon this turn, and the aliens that are in here, oh great, 2 saucermen, a bug, and a time distortion. Okay, I think time distortion is slightly messed up, but I'm going to have to read the rules over on that. So 2 saucermen. So the first thing, of course, we're going to get is our thrall, because on the inner circle, the first alien is always a thrall. Then we're going to get a saucerman, and then we would get a bug, but so far we have no tiles with vents, and so no bugs will appear, and I'm going to have to come back after I look up time distortion to figure out exactly what it means. So we'll be right back to deal with a time distortion. Okay, so taking a look at time distortion. And it basically, if this focuses, all aliens, including those listed on the token, immediately make a full move using their normal movement protocol. This does not allow aliens to attack. So basically it means all of the aliens get a free move. So that's what time distortion does for us, which doesn't sound great. And so this alien wouldn't move because it has line of sight to a Rocketeer. However, the thrall will move, and it's going to try to get somewhere. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4 to get here, or it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to head off in this direction. 1 space. Well, that's those aliens moving. These guys are also going to move, and of course they can't get through any of these blocked doors, space leeches or thralls, so they're going to move. They get to move 1 space. They're going to move right here because they're going to try to get in this way. So they move a space here, and the space leech. So that was time distortion. All right, Annie Fletcher now has 3 actions she can take, and unfortunately the first one she's going to have to take is she's going to do a non-combat action. She's going to open that hatch because she wants to get in there and get that ray gun. That would be very useful for her. So her first action is opening the hatch, a non-combat action, and she has one of those she has to use a turn. Her second of 3 actions is just a regular action. She's going to do a move. So she's going to move in here, and she's picking up the ray gun. And picking up one of these tokens does not cost any kind of actions. It's a free action, so she's going to get a ray gun. So now she has her headset and a ray gun. The ray gun is large. You can have 2 large items only. Overkill, hit and run. Acting Rocketeer takes a free move action on an overkill. So it does 5 dice on the square you're in, 3 dice, 1 square away. It's so excellent. She has the ray gun. And so for her third action, now that she's picked up the ray gun, she's going to attack the Saucerman, who's right here in her square. That means she's going to be rolling 5 dice. And yes, I use the tomb dice that have 3 axes, 10-sided die, and the other sides are blank, because hits in this game, or successes, are 1, 2, 3s on a 10-sided. Let's go to the dice tray. We're going to have Annie Fletcher take an attack against that saucer. All right, dice tray, 5 attack. Come on, let's do something here. Oh, this is most excellent. She gets 2 successes, and those are not successes, so I'll just get them off to the side. So she's 2 successes. Her first success will take out the saucerman, and she has an overkill. So she can either use move out, and because she has the headset, she could order the professor to move out, but he's got nowhere to move because all the hatches are closed. She can use the ray gun overkill, which is hit and runs. We can look at that again. It basically means acting Rocketeer takes a free move action. So she can take a free move action if she wants for the overkill. And the Saucermen have an overkill option on them as well, called Psychic Scream. And it is Psychic Scream. Stun one leader or Saucerman, ignoring line of sight. So by killing a Saucerman, we can just stun a Saucerman, ignoring line of sight. So that we could stun this Saucerman. So the question becomes, does she want to have a free move action, or does she want to stun this Saucerman? I think she's going to go ahead and stun the Saucerman with the Psychic Scream, and we can't see anything, so let me go over to the board and we'll do what I'm talking about here. Okay, that was all of her options for overkill. So she is going to stun the one Saucerman, and it's ignoring line of sight. So basically means with the Psychic Scream overkill from the Saucerman card, you can stun any other Saucerman or Saucerman leader anywhere on the board. So that's pretty awesome. Good stuff. She does not have any more actions left. She could spend one oxygen to take one more action, but I don't think she's going to. And so that basically ends our first officer's turn, which means up next is the professor. And the professor, yes, he has to do a scan action. So he has the options of scanning any of these tiles. I don't think we want to scan the outer tiles because thralls do not appear on the first alien token. On the outer ones, just all aliens appear. We really need him to start finding a laser gun, or ray gun, which he's not going to be able to do. So he's going to scan this inner one, because at least the first alien on the token will be a thrall, which is good. So we're going to go ahead and he's going to scan this tile. And oh great, it has a vent on it. So now when bugs start appearing on the tokens, the bugs will appear at the vent. And let's find out which aliens we get. 2 Saucermen and a bug. Okay, so again, we're going to get 1 Thrall, 1 Saucerman, and 1 bug. So we get a Thrall. We're going to get a Saucerman. Let's use a different sculpt here. A bug, a Saucerman, and a bug. So we forgot a bug. Oh, and I should mention, the number of bugs you can have in the game is 5 times the number of characters. So the maximum number of bugs we can have on the board is 10, just so you know. All right, that was him revealing the tile. And bugs can get their way through closed hatches. So not too good. Again, he still doesn't have any weapons, which is a problem. And he's not, well, I'm not sure what he really wants to do. But I might have to think about this. Actually, no, I think I know what I'm going to do. His non-combat action is going to be opening the hatch here. So he's opening the hatch because the bug can go through the hatch anyway, and so can the Saucerman. Just shoots through the hatch. He doesn't have a problem. This one's stunned though, so that helps us a little bit. So he's going to take another action to move into this space. So he's moving in here with the bug, the Saucerman, and the Thrall. And for his third and final action, he may as well try and subdue the Thrall, because he has no weapons, so he can't do anything about that anyhow. So he will try and subdue the Thrall. So how does he do that? Well, he uses his IQ. Oh, and I should mention, he also has the Scientist. And there's a little 2 up here. It means this can be used 2 times. And you have these little green cubes to put on the card to recognize that once you use the Scientist twice, he's not going to be able to be used again. However, we can add cubes to specific items when we do an IQ test on an item that has an IQ test, but we'll worry about that later. All right, so we have, do we want to use this? I don't think so, because our professor is already rolling. He has an IQ of 5, so he's going to be rolling 5 dice to try and subdue this thrall. Let's go to the dice tray and see if he can do it. All right, 5 dice to subdue the thrall. Well, he gets one success only. So he does, in fact, subdue the thrall. That's our second one. That's going to net us a piece of wire. So now we've subdued 2 thralls. And of course we need to subdue 3 of them, or sorry, 6 of them, and we have to find the elevator. So we're a third of the way to at least subduing all the thralls we need. And that's going to conclude his actions unless he wants to spend an oxygen to do one more activity, but I don't think he's going to bother. So let's go back to the map now, and all the aliens are going to start taking their turn. All right, and as per usual, the aliens go in order of sentience, and this time again we just have the Saucerman, the Thrall, and the Space Leech, and they will go in that order. Saucerman, then the Thralls, then the Space Leech. So what does the Saucerman do? He has a movement of 1, attack dice of 2. They can move and attack through closed hatches, and they can move and attack in the same turn. Basically what they do is they try to move into a position so that they can fire at somebody. So this one here is stunned, so he's just knocked out doing nothing. However, this Saucerman is quite alive, and he will be attacking the Professor. And I also forgot we do have a bug this time. The bug is going to go last. It has the least amount of sentience. We'll worry about the bug when we have a look at it. All right. So what's going to happen now? Saucerman gets 2 dice to attack the Professor. Let's go to the dice tray and see if he can miss. Let's hope. All right, Saucerman, 2 dice. Saucerman misses. All right. Professor's been getting lucky there. Back to the main board. Up next is going to be the Thralls. All right, so let's take a look again at the Thrall card. Now, Thralls can move 1, and they have 1 attack die, but they can't move and attack. So we can't attack them, and they can't move through closed hatches, and they can't move and attack at the same time. All right, so basically the Thralls are going to move 1 space. Well, this Thrall here, seeing Annie now here, and there's no hatch here, is going to move 1 location into her space, which is good, I think. We have the other 2 Thralls here on the corner, so they have 1, 2, and 1, 2 to get over here where the Professor is. And normally you go by the tile that has the lowest number they would move towards, but I have no idea what the tile number is here, so I think they're just going to move in here like such. So they move in here. They're on their way to try to get to the Professor because there's an open hatch, so there's a clear way to go in there. All right, that was the Thralls. And up next in sentience order is the lovely Space Leech. It moves 1 space. It can't move through closed hatches. It can move and attack on the same turn, and Space Leeches. So that's basically what they're going to do. So the Space Leech is going to do the same thing. It can move 1 space. It's going to move in here, hopefully on its way to the Professor, but it can't attack anybody. Up next is the Bug. Okay. The Bug has move 1, attack dice 1, range of 0. It doesn't have an overkill effect, obviously. It's only rolling 1 die. And overkill option when you're shooting at it. Okay, priority for bugs: form a single swarm before moving toward the nearest Rocketeer. So without getting into the complicated movement and activity rules for bugs, we only have 1 bug on the board. It has 1 attack die. It's going to attack the Professor. Let's go to the dice tray, roll the bug attack. All right, the bug only has 1 die for attacking and misses. Excellent. Wow, we've been so lucky with the attacks. And back to the board for the cleanup. All right, we're into the cleanup phase. The first thing we do, all stunned aliens wake up. So the stunned Saucerman recovers and wakes up. And what do? Next thing, we remove all hatch open and hatch closed markers so that the hatches close again. Just what happens during the cleanup phase. So automatic doors are shutting. We recover all our action markers from our Rocketeers, and then we collect order scan markers and set them aside for the next game turn. All right, so Annie and the Professor are going to get their 2 actions and 1 non-combat action back. And we still now have to decide which of the 2 Rocketeers we want to go first. In the next episode. I think we're going to have the Professor go first, because if this is a laser pistol, at least he can move in there and collect a weapon. At least I hope that's what's going to happen. So the professor's going to go first, and then Annie here will go second. All right, so I think I'm going to end it off here. I think what we're going to do is 1 turn per episode. And I'm going kind of slowly here, but I'm trying once again to not mess up the rules. Make sure I'm doing everything correctly. Try to win the scenario, because it's just a pretty tough one. So we're leaving it off now. We've got 3 thralls on the board. We have a space leech, a bug, 2 saucermen. And only Annie has a ray gun. But one of these 2 tiles will be a ray gun. Our professor's going to go first in the next episode. So maybe this tile's got the ray gun on it. At least I hope it does. If not, well, then he's not going to be able to fight. But thanks so much for watching along. This is Space Cadets Away Missions. So I really appreciate your comments, your subscriptions, and your likes of my videos. It really means a lot. So thanks so much for watching along, and I will catch you next time for the continuation of Escape from the Slave Saucer.